want to talk about is Nowhere Boys, which we did something really different, and I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you how that went as well. Much bigger budget, and we actually had a budget, so. Has anyone seen Nowhere Boys here? No, maybe not demographics. It's boys 8 to 12. Well, I'll tell you about it. So we took ABC3. It played late last year, and we're in production for the second series now. Basically, 4 teenage boys go on a school excursion into a forest. They get lost. They end up there overnight. They come back to their town. So kind of, we've sort of seen that before. But when they come back to their town, no one in that town knows who they are. And they realise over time that they've actually gone into a different dimension where they were never born. Not even their mothers know who they are. In fact, when they go close to their mothers get these terrible migraines or get really sick. And so these 4 boys are alone in this town and they have to work out what happened. So this is a really fun project. This is kids. Boys aged 8 to 12. In fact, it was specifically commissioned by the ep3 because they were looking, they said there's nothing out there. They came to us and said there's nothing out there for boys. There's no TV for aimed at boys, what do you got? And the brilliant Tony Ayres went, oh, I'll have to think about that. Came back with a pitch, and it was this. So because of that demographic, when really assessing this project, I said to Matchbox, I said, look, this is, if we're going to have a look at online again, this is the show. And we knew from researching at that audience that also they want to feel empowered, they want to feel part of being in control of something. So we thought that the best value would be to create an asset where they felt part of the story and in control. We also, because it had a science fiction element, we really felt there was lots of scope to extend the mystery of the world into online and really enrich their engagement with the story world. Which is, in that kind of sci-fi world, it's really right for that. We created an asset called Nowhere Boys, the 5th Boy, which is an online game which plays in 6 parts. We wanted it to be really entwined with the main narrative. So we worked really hard, we worked very closely with the script writers, so our game team and writing were working really closely together to make sure that the world was united. We knew that there couldn't be any inconsistencies between those worlds, which was really tricky. As things were developing, we had to keep, keep workshopping that. What we created was, we call it an interactive immersive experience. So a week before the show went to air, you could go to the ABC3 website and you saw a boy lying, sleeping, with a countdown above him. And that was counting down for a week. And that countdown ran out 10 minutes before the first episode ended. So the ABC3 website is a really active website, so lots of people going there were directing, so there was an anticipation building around what was going to happen when this boy woke up. So the boy wakes up 10 minutes, before the end of the episode. So ideally, you get to the end of the episode, there's a call to action at the end of the episode, which is like, okay, someone needs your help, go to this website now. So people then went to the website, they'd see the boy wake up, and then they would find out that they were that boy. In fact, they were the 5th boy. So the show has 4 boys, and you now have a chance to be a 5th boy. And you also realise that you are lost, and you, like the characters you've just seen in the show, need to find your way home. You have no idea what's happening. So that was kind of the basic premise for it. These are some images of it. We set it over, in the show, the philosophy of the show is all elemental. So one of the boys is earth, one of them's air, one of them's fire, and one of them's water. And then there's a 5th kind of element of spirit, which is our word. This is kind of the mystery that was set up and unraveled. So each of the game worlds represented one of them. We have an earth world, that's air world, that's earth world as well, and that's the spirit world at the end. Episode 1, you could play to the end of earth world. We gave them 2 weeks to complete that world. It was, reasonably difficult, and they were, learning a lot of things. Then another episode would play, you'd still be on Earth World. Then after the 3rd episode played, again, if you got to the end of Earth World, it would lock again for another timer. When the 3rd episode played, there was another call to action. It's like something else has happened online, go back again. So they'd go back again, and this time they'd be in the next world. And that happened at 6 points throughout the episode. So episode 1, game 1, 2 more episodes, game 2, 2 more episodes, game 3. It was that kind of rollout. And what was really exciting, and I'm really proud that we achieved this, is that because it was very hard to do, things that were happening in the game world influenced the TV show. So in the game world, you found a key, and you went to a shed and you unlock a door. And then when you watch the next episode, your 4 boys come in and they look at that door and they go, the door's open, great. Now, if you haven't played the game, no-brainer, you won't even think about it, but if you've played the game, you know that you made a difference in that TV show to those boys. You put that there. You get to put, another time you go into a kitchen and there's a bucket of flour and you get to place that bucket of flour there. Next episode, the boy is stuck in the cupboard, he doesn't know how to get out. He looks, he sees the bucket of flour, and that's his escape. So we planted these all the way through, much bigger process, much more difficult to roll out than kind of more conversational online tools. So this we needed to start really early. We were thinking of this when we were in our early development, we were working on this. I was really lucky to get accepted for a week into a program that Screen Australia had called a Digital Ignition Workshop. I'm not sure if it's running anymore now, and there's been some cuts there that are making it all a little bit more difficult for this to happen. But basically, Mike Howard and Screen Australia had put together for a week, me and one of the writers went and spent a week with experts in this area from all around the world developing this idea. And that's where we came up with the foundation of it. We then went back to ep3 and we engaged them in the vision because it was really important to have their support. They were integral in making this happen. We couldn't have done it. It needed a budget. It needed its own budget. It wasn't an enormous budget for what we achieved. It was only about 300,000, which can sound like a lot of money, but believe me, it wasn't. It was a really little amount of money for creating a 6-part game world. We had to finance that, obviously. And we're not a game, we don't make games at Matchbox, it's not our thing. So we needed to team up with someone, and we found a company called Millipede, and we teamed up with them. Where you develop a Bible, you guys I'm sure are all really familiar with that. With a game, it's very different. You develop a game design document, and it's rolled out it's a lot more technical in how it's rolled out. So we had to do a lot of foundational work, a lot of technical foundational work, and also we had to, because we were collecting footage and assets from the main show, there was a lot of coordination of that, and it's a much bigger rollout. So as I said, we created a 6-part game that unlocked the key parts in the broadcast. The final battle was unlocked the week before the final episode. So you got to do that final battle, and then if you were successful in that final battle, you released yourself, and then when you watched episode 13, we actually put the Game Boy in episode 13. So when the show is coming to a climax, a car races down the street, and our boy, I'll show you in a minute, our boy actually walks past, and so you can see yourself back in the TV show, and being reunited with your father. So it's an additional asset that really was developed to increase engagement and stimulate more of the story. Look, I guess they're just 3 examples of things that we've done that really just look at how we're talking to our audience and who our audience is and how we can maximise that. It is, in essence, a world opportunity, but the key is also to match your project and your budgets to what is appropriate. Like every one of those is very different examples, and that's because your project will have unique ways that are best for you to be able to think about this in terms of that. And I guess the bottom line really is story is king, but it's a very noisy world out there, and engaging in story is right behind that. So I really would encourage you to think about that as you're moving your projects into the next stages of development. Cool.
Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, it's like it.
Hello. I have 2 questions. One is about Nowhere Boys.
Yeah.
It's how does the game work independently, or does the game work independently from the broadcast series? So once the broadcast series is over, is there still any value to the game, or does it standalone?
Well, both of them are available on iTunes now. So
Okay.
it is maximised when the two platforms talk together.
Yes.
That is where the absolute value is, and that is how we encourage it to play it. But we did develop it making sure that you could do it without,
Yep.
and also that you could. That order that I said is quite prescriptive. Episode, gameplay, episode, gameplay, episode. That we tried in the best that we could to allow that. If you hadn't done it that way, it was still a very satisfying experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a 12-year-old nephew.
You should send it to the website. And I mean, literally, you can get the episodes in the game. The game's free on iTunes. They just need to buy the episodes, and so that they can, they can do it that way. Because it's off iView now. Actually, we did play again over Easter. I think it's probably off iView. Yeah.
Oh, it looks fantastic. And my other question was about when you said Canadian free influencers.
Yeah.
If you could just elaborate a little bit on that.
Okay, so social media is a noisy space, and in any topic, there's always people who are leading conversations. So Mia Friedman's a great example. And she has really clear opinions. Most people know what they are. She's strong, she's articulate, she has a great following. And so if you had topics like breastfeeding that you suspected that she might have opinions about, how do you engage her with that? How do you find, and there are people also who can professionally do that for you, but as a more organic thing, how, can you tag her? Are there things that you can mention her in that she will then look at that might draw her into a conversation? Just being strategic about things like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
So did you pay those key influencers?
No, that was all organic. And I think you have to be quite careful around that space. I think people who have real weight online don't like to feel that they're being bought. It's a very independent.
Although the public relations industry do it all the time.
Right. yeah. But I've also heard of real backlash. People
Well,
kind of say, hey, promote my show and I'll, back off.
No, it's got to be subtle, but it happens all the time.
Yeah.
I'm just interested in the thing about Straits.
Yeah.
You produced the show and then
I didn't actually produce the Straits, was that? Yeah. All no boys, I just did.
Then there seemed to be this sort of your marketing in as well. Where's the demarcation between like ABC marketing pushing the show that they're actually showing, and you having to do that as well?
Exactly, and that's what I was mentioning first up about working with broadcaster. We absolutely work with ABC on these things. That we don't go renegade. It's in partnership. We need to be very respectful of their strategy, but also how can we add to their strategy? It's our content. We know that content. ABC have lots of shows coming through. They're really pushed. We all know they're going to be even more pushed now. So we as a producer have an obligation not only to support the ABC in that and to do what we can budget-wise to do that, and I always have money in my budget, even like with Maximum Troppage, it's a tight budget, but I want to put as much money into social marketing as I can to support what the ABC can do. So it's all in conjunction with them, talking to them all the time. Hey, we're going to do this. Are you okay with that? We'll do this. Can we tag you here? Can we post that? But also the other thing is, ABC have an interest in this show in Australia. We have an interest in selling the show around the world. We have a long tail interest in this show that isn't part of what the ABC Charter is. So how do we also help that show have an international market? And we need to be strategic